In today's video, I'm going to answer one of the questions from our viewers. Is it a leading diagonal or a correction? How to differentiate them? How to trade them? Here's the question. It says, how can we identify a leading diagonal when its overlapping nature makes it look so much like a correction wave? Or can we only confirm it as a leading diagonal once wave 3 has broken above the peak of wave 1? And for those of you not very familiar with the leading diagonal, let me explain the structure very quickly. Diagonals are motive wave. They move in 3, however, instead of 5, each component of their legs, because at the end of the day, they actually end up having 5 waves as well. The only difference is that each one of those waves is a 3-way move. So this would be a wave 1, this would be wave 2, this would be wave 3, 4, and 5. So basically, once we connect the end of wave 1 with wave 3, we would have a shape that distinguishes pretty much how a diagonal looks like. And they occur in 2 specific locations. Sometimes they occur at the end of an impulse wave, something like this, wave 1, 2, I'm sorry, not this one, let's say like that, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then at the end we have a leading diagonal. So that's a very typical positioning of not a leading diagonal, of an ending diagonal. So when you can see that prices are really making crawling up, but in a very corrective way, not in a very impulsive manner, very correctively, but still moving the direction of the trend. So then we call them ending diagonals. And then we have the other possibility, which is the diagonal forming in the beginning of let me use a different tool to draw because that one wasn't very good. So let's use 1 as a leading diagonal, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But wave 1, instead of being an impulse like they usually are, they develop in the shape of a diagonal. So what is that shape? As I said, they overlap, they move in 3. So this would be wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. And so when we use the trend line, we connect the end of wave 1 and wave 3, and the end of wave 2 and wave 4. And that would give it that wedge shape that everybody talks about. So the problem with a diagonal is that because they move in 3, each component of the diagonal moves in 3, not in 5, it's very easy to conclude that, well, even though they are moving like in the direction of probably a new trend, they look very corrective because they don't develop impulsively. They look as an ABC, 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 ABC. So how do we know that this is a leading diagonal and not a correction, right? Where we have, let's say, a wave 3 here, this would be a wave 4, and the next move then would be to the downside on a wave 5. Well, the answer is going to shock you a little bit, because the answer is, theoretically, leading diagonals are different than ending diagonals. Theoretically, leading diagonals should display or tend to display wave 1 of the diagonal and wave 3 and wave 5 of the diagonal resembling an impulse. So they would look something like this. Wave 1, this would be wave 2, and then wave 3 would be something like this, and then wave 5 would be something like that. So they all have 5 waves except for wave 2 and 4. So what's the difference between these and an impulse wave? Well, the difference is that in a leading diagonal, wave 4 would penetrate the end of wave 1. So you can see here, this would be wave 1, 2, 3, and 4 is way inside the territory of wave 1. So this couldn't be counted as an impulse, but it could indeed be counted as a diagonal. So theoretically, this is 100% true, and practically, it's not always the case that we could see those things so clearly. So when we have a diagonal, and let's do this again, let's say that we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for a diagonal. How do we trade it? Okay, so the only way to trade it is via context. In other words, we believe that the previous decline is already in 5 wave. So if that's the case, we're going to favor the idea that this is a wave 1 of a new trend, not a correction. Well, that's one way, but again, it depends on context, and context depends also on time frame, as I explained in a different video before. But does it justify that we actually trade this, let's say, comfortably? And I would say, well, no, because the problem with that assumption is that it could be, maybe this was wave 1 and this is wave 2. So maybe this is not a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but only the 1 of something much larger. And what happened here is a correction that goes all the way down, even below this low here. So how do we trade this? Well, the only way would be, as our friend and viewer shows in his question, we need to wait for the 3-wave correction. And still, we have here now an 8-wave cycle, but still not very tradable. So how do we trade it? We can only trade it when the high of wave 5 has been penetrated. And that breakout is the only way that confirms that this might have been a leading diagonal. Of what? We're still not sure, because it could be a leading diagonal of a wave A or a leading diagonal of a wave 1. So, and this could be wave B or wave 2. But the break of the high of the suspected diagonal implies either a wave C or a wave 3. And that's the way that we differentiate them, and that's the way that we trade them. Let me give you a clear example of what I'm trying to explain with a real chart and a real situation. A few days ago, I made this forecast when prices were here. I thought they were coming down, up, and continue down. So I labeled that in a smaller time frame. I labeled that as a correction. And as a correction, well, it was contained within parallel lines. So I assume that this was the ABC, and this decline here that went below the corrective channel was a leading diagonal. At least that's what I was expecting. So you would see it here. I counted it as a, let me label it so you can see clearly. I counted it as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for a potential diagonal. And of course, let's use the trend line so you can see it even better. This was the 1-3 trend line, and this one here was the 2-4. So ideally, I was expecting this to be the first wave of the next decline, and this would be an ABC. But because of the nature, the corrective nature of this, we couldn't simply assume that, and was the moment to enter this trade was with the break of this low. And that didn't happen, and it proves that's completely wrong in that assumption of a diagonal. I hope this helps you, and feel free to ask more questions because it helps me produce more videos for your benefit. And if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so now and like the video so other traders have the possibility to watch it.